Listeners' discretion is advised as we'll be talking about mental health issues. If anyone out there is struggling with any mental health issues, call Lifeline on 131114 and please reach out to your family and friends. G'day, welcome to True Blue History. I'm Adam Blum. Welcome back to part 2 of our 3-part chat with McQuilty Quirke. If you haven't listened to part 1, go back and listen to part 1 now before listening to part 2. In this week's episode, McQuilty will be talking about his deployment to Afghanistan in 2011 and a day, the 13th of August 2011, that changed McQuilty's life forever. McQuilty was wounded in action by an improvised explosion device, IED. He will also be talking about his road to recovery. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And you had 3 years of struggles and from your deployment to Iraq, and then we move forward, and given your previous operational experiences and the adverse effects, how did you mentally prepare for the approach of your 2011 deployment to Afghanistan?
Yeah, I think mentally I was in a much better place. I was probably the strongest I'd ever been mentally, even prior to having PTSD. I think you've got to go through some form of mental fight to realise your true potential mentally. So there was probably nothing in that build up to going to Afghanistan that scared me mentally. I think I was ready for it, and I was very understanding that it was going to be another process, and it was just going to be in a different place. Physically, I was older. I was 30 years of age. I had young medics, whippersnappers around the 20-year-old mark that were going over, and I knew that I had to be conditioned physically and emotionally and mentally much better than what I was in previous deployments. So I trained exceptionally hard. I was flipping tires at lunchtime with my ballistic vest on, So I think what I'd learned was my body may have been mentally much more capable of tackling another deployment. But physically, I needed to work and to make sure that I was in top-notch condition. So, and that took a lot of training. And I was lucky. The boys we had were really good. They trained with me. So that makes it a really good team environment when you're heading over there with a bunch of medics. And we were going to be geographically spread out across Afghanistan. So, and it was going to be arduous. We knew that it's going to be pretty different to Iraq. It was going to be different to East Timor. It was going to be different to Walker at high range. It's a very unique sort of place. So, I worked exceptionally hard to be ready to go, and I was probably the fittest I'd ever been prior to leaving on that deployment, mentally, physically, and emotionally. So, it takes a massive effort to do that anyway. So, I was pretty proud of that, to be where I was from where I'd been in the previous 3 or 4 years.
Absolutely, and so we go forward, Coco. You're in Afghanistan, and as far as defining moments and turning points go, the 13th of August 2011 was certainly one of those days for you, and that you prayed would never happen. Can you run us through what you were doing that day and what happened when things took a turn for the worst?
Yeah, mate. I was just setting up my new laptop, and I had a laptop that I'd taken to Iraq that had finally died from all the movie sessions and gaming, and that was my little faithful. So Tam sent a new one over, and I'd been into Taran Kent and picked it up off a couple of mates at doctors there. and I was on the phone to Tab actually, and I was talking to her about the fact that I was going to Skype the kids that afternoon for when they got home from school. And as we were talking, there was a massive explosion, and I said, "Hang on a sec, bub," and we ran outside, and everybody ran outside and outside my REP door, and we just saw a big mushroom cloud of dirt in the distance, probably about, well, maybe not even 2K, 1,800 meters away from the barracks. I ran back in on the phone. I said, "Babe, I've got to go. Got a job. I'll call you later." And I always made a point of trying to call her before and after every patrol, just to ease her mind. I think the benefits of having a phone in my RAP, I could do that, let the boys come in and make a quick phone call. And I left on patrol just as a resupply team had dropped in to bring resupply, and one of the medics, Chris Werner, was walking in the gate as I ran out, fully kitted up, and I said, "Look, I've got my laptop open, phone's there, you can go and just got your messages, call your wife, whatever you want to do, mate, and I'll see you soon." And we rolled out with our vehicles, and we went about, I'd say 1,200 meters. We pulled up from from our patrol base, and one of my medics, Daniel Payne, great young fella, ended up getting wounded in action a bit later on. He'd been in the vehicle that had hit an IED, and he'd been knocked out along with the boys, the engineers and the infantry lads and the drivers, and the commander, and he treated them all and walked them back to us, and then he stayed on foot with the engineers that we'd taken out to replace the boys, and he walked about 20 odd Ks with them on the ground, and he wouldn't leave them until they got to where they were going, which is an exceptional act of bravery for a lad that's just been blown up with his mate. And we threw the guys in the back of the bow vehicle, a Bushmaster, and I had a quick look at him and said, "Look, I can only do so much here. We're best off just taking them back to the patrol base. It's about 1,200 meters away. I can do a full assessment, and we'll fly them to Tara and Cat from there." We turned around. We were first in the order of march on the way back to the patrol base Wally. We've gone maybe 200 meters back down the road. I was on the rear gun, and I remember watching for enemy, and every time the front gun would switch to the high side, I'd go to the low side, and every time he switched back to the low side, I'd switch back to the high side. We had really good comms in the vehicle, and I remember saying that on the comms, like, atmospherics aren't good, and I think everybody just needs to be careful here. It doesn't seem right to me, and we all agreed on that. And then I tucked the gun in towards me, and I leant over to look down the side of the road, which is normal practice, just checking the sides of the road for anything that could be perceived to be, an IED, and we'd learnt that technique in Iraq. And as I got to the wheel directly below where I was standing, I just remember a blinding white flash. The next thing I remember is three shadows standing over me. And then I remember a good friend of us, of myself and Tam, in Tara and Cout at the surgery there, giving me a kiss on the cheek. I remember another good friend in Kandahar, and then I remember landing in Germany. So, I have very little memory of actually what actually happened, but I was on the ground for nearly 2 hours. They nil signs of life on the side of the road. 3 times by the time I got to Germany, I was nil signs of life. My mate saved my life. The engineers and infantry lads, I still, that was the second strike for the day, we got hit, and they took the bit between their teeth that day and made their way to me and saved my life. And that's, we're talking about infantry soldiers and engineers that have a basic level of understanding in the medical sense, and they got to me and they worked, and they refused to let me go. And then Chris Werner, coincidentally, he was the medic that had come in with the resupply run, ended up being the medic that had me, same qualification as me, advanced medtech, and he had me for 6 minutes, and he said that 2 minutes I was able to ask you a question and answer and be in pain, and he said 2 minutes in I was looking after your leg and you didn't answer any questions, and when I turned to look back at your face, your eyes roll back and you're dead. Like, just, it's and the voice said that he just refused to stop, and that's something that I'm forever grateful for. There's only one reason I'm here today, mate. That's because a group of Australian soldiers who some of the closest mates I've ever had were willing to put their lives in absolute danger to get to me and to work on me, and that's something that thanks will never be enough. Like, it's not enough for me just to say thank you. It's something that I have to repay every day for the rest of my life. So, that day turned out to be as significant a day as anyone would have in those situations. All the boys and the women and men that are being wounded in action in the Middle East. It's a day that we never thought would happen, and it happened. That's just life, and that's how it is. But I think for all of us, we all think that gratefulness and just saying thanks just doesn't seem enough. So, a day that'll go down in history, and I'm proud of what my mates did. So that's in a nutshell what happened that day.
And I think for the listener, Coco, what I said at the start, where you were in a very bad way, like you landed on your head and directly face first, smashed into the ground with your head, and you were lucky to survive the initial blast, but you had, as I said, you had 2 fractured vertebrae, you had multiple life and death injuries, and made it's as you said, like, I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking, mate, you are just an absolute, to be sitting here today having this conversation. It is, like you said, there's a time I'm speechless, mate. Like, I'm speechless in what I'm trying to say, because it's one of those times in your life where it's an absolute horrific event that's happened, but you're still here to tell the tale, and it's through the work of what your mates did, but it's also your will to live, mate. Like, you died 3 times that day, and there's a reason you're still here. There's a purpose that and I truly believe that, and I'm sure you believe there's a purpose now that you're still here. There's a reason, a message or something that you're still here to offer, and it's, for me, mate, talking to you, it's resilience. It is just true resilience.
Yeah, it's hard to put a finger on exactly what it is that kept me on this side of the line, and it's a unique experience to come back from being on the other side 3 times. But I tell that story to corporates and to sporting teams, and I break it down. Like, you stand in death's doorway and you punch him in the face and tell him not today, and there's a reason for that. So yeah, I've got a purpose, I've got a mission in life, and I still have to fulfill that, and that's something that I yearn to do every day. And if I can just change one person's perspective, mate, and just give them one chance to just see the world in a different way that they view it. And I'm doing my mates justice that didn't come back, because I know deep inside it's a thought that takes, it's in my mind every day that I was a name on the wall, and a name amongst some of the best people I've ever met, that we don't have with us. But it's just luck, I think. I don't know what it is, mate, but I'm happy to be here, and I'll continue to live a life that's worthy because I've got a mission to do. So I don't know what else to say to that.
I think
that's it. It just is what it is.
I think you're right, mate. That I think, like you said, you punched death 3 times in the, like, you punched him in the face and said not today. And I think, like you just touched on, you over there, we lost some of the greatest blokes, to walk this earth, and your name was amongst, as you're saying, was amongst some of the 102,000 that have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. And I think, like you say, it's luck, but there's a greater purpose, mate. There's a greater purpose, and I think, like you're saying, it's you never, you will never take another day for granted in your lifetime, because you've done something that is very unique, and 4 times you died and have come back. And yeah, it's something that I think, as you say, there's not much else that we can say, is just that there's a greater purpose. And just, I guess, mate, for you, I guess one way is to say that, and this is just my thought, and you might agree or disagree, just the will to live.
Yeah, it's a humbling process, mate. I definitely wasn't going to let my wife down, that's for sure. I promised her I'd come home. And my mates, a couple of good mates, blamed themselves for that day, and it's my boss, Tony Bennett. He takes responsibility for what happened, and I've told him continuously that there was nothing that he could have done that would have changed the outcome of that day, what happened that day. It was just, luck of the draw for me. It just happened to be that we would, my mates were in the second blast, and we got in our first blast with them, and it was an interesting day to say, to speak of. And even now we talk about it, and we still can't really put our finger on why it happened that way. But it's just the way it is, that's the war zone, and you put your life on the line every time you step outside the wire. You got a 50-50 chance of getting back in alive. And I think that day worked out that we lost nobody, and I was the only one seriously injured in that one there. And the driver from the first vehicle had a sore back. He was out of action for a few days, but he got back into the fight. I think I'm just grateful to be here at the end of the day.
Absolutely, mate. And I think what you said earlier on, when the tree fell on that soldier in 2004, mateship, mate. Your mates coming to your aid and putting their lives in serious danger. It's the old saying, mate. Mateship. Never leave a mate behind, and never ever. It's mateship. It's sacrifice. It's courage. It's all those words, and it's all the words of what the ADF means, that, you never let your mates down.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. There's a thing there that, I don't take lightly. It's, my mates saved my life, and that's how it is, and that's, I'll repay them whenever I get a chance to, and that's something that I'm really proud to have served with those guys. And whenever we catch up, it's a good day. Every day for me is a good day. I'm awesome every day. I have bad days, but I'm not going to sit there and dwell on it.
Absolutely, and I think that's a great outlook on life, mate. And I think anyone that's struggling at the moment, mate, can look at and hear that, and like, as I said, you've faced death 4 times, and you've come back and can see a positive outlook on life. So there's no challenge that is too great that people can't see past and fix the problems that they're facing.
No, that's absolutely right, mate. I always tell people that after being through that, there's nothing that scares me in this world. No one scares me apart from 3 people. That's my wife, my mum, and my mother-in-law. So, there's and they're exceptional women in their own right. And I think I'll just, I'll keep doing my thing, and I'll keep teaching people that those 3 hard steps every morning just resonates with everybody, because like you say, if you can get those 3 first steps out of the way, and, even I wake up I'm in pain 24/7, like I'm 6, 7 out of 10 pain 24/7. So, and, I take medication and go to sleep every night. I take medication and do everything. So, if I can get up every morning and take those 3 hard steps, then I'm pretty sure that, a young kid that's struggling with something can find somebody to open up to about it, and they can wake up every day and live a life full of purpose and full of living, like we get one life, just live it and enjoy it, and just be at one with anyone you want to be at one with, and just take 3 steps, that's all it takes.
Absolutely, mate. And you mentioned that you woke up in Germany, so you were medevaced to Germany, and really that's when things started for you, the long process. Can you explain to us initially waking up in Germany and then ringing and letting your wife know for the first time that you had been in an accident over in Afghanistan?
Yeah, she got the initial phone call as I was landing in Tarin Kowt. The RSM rang her, and she thought it was me. And it's about 9:30 p.m. Australian time. And he said, Tam, this is John. And she said, yep, I know who you are. He said, look, Coco has been in an accident. He's got a broken leg. I've got the padre with me. We'll call you back. And she went into a bit of a tailspin then, and rang her mum and dad, and her dad said to her, like, they wouldn't ring you if he's just been in an accident at this time of night. So he's just got a broken leg and has a padre there. We're on our way over. And the ensuing hours, she received a phone call from the doctor every hour. He promised to call her. Nick Gray, great dude, great doctor. So she was fairly up to date. By the time the notification team came around, she knew more than they did about what's going on with me. I landed in Germany on the 15th of August, and I remember coming off that plane, watching everybody get taken off with missing limbs. And I didn't know if I had missing limbs because I couldn't sit up, I couldn't move, I had a broken back. So, the nurse that was with us, Cam Brockle, was awesome, and he said, you've got everything, Coco. I better have everything, and I better have everything working, because I've got a missus, and I ain't going to be missing anything for this, like that. He said, you've got everything, Coco, everything's working. I went straight into surgery. Coincidentally, a good mate of mine from the American Army, who was a nurse, anaesthetist, he was with us in Iraq, and he was coming off shift, and he saw me coming in, and he said, what are you doing here? And I'm like, what are you doing here? And he went in and did the anaesthetist stuff on my first surgery in Germany. And then I woke up on the 16th of August really confused, and that was my 31st birthday, and the head surgeon said, happy birthday. One of my old RSMs was sitting in the room, and 2IC for the Australian Forces. And yeah, they'd been sent there by Colonel Campbell, General Campbell, I should say. And when Tam arrived on the 17th, I don't care how strong you think you are, like, it's after going through something like that and your wife walks in the door, I told her I was sorry straight away. She said that the first thing I told her was, sorry, bub, but black man can't fly. And she sort of looked at me and I said, actually, I can fly, I just couldn't stick the landing. And I still get shit every day from my mates about not sticking the landing. And, you get taught to take the impact through the knees when you jump in the army. And all my parachute mates para-rolling into my room, when I got back to Australia, and having a good old laugh about the fact I didn't stick the landing. And, so my first memory of seeing my wife was, when she turned up in Germany on the 17th. And, the first thing I said to her was I couldn't stick the landing, but that's, there was that dark sense of humor that you have when you get into situations like that. And I think humor is one of the most endearing things that I've got. It's one of my skills. I can bring it out whenever I want to. Help me get through a lot of stuff, it was tough there. 2 weeks of, being in and out of surgery and having half a banana to eat every couple of days. I went from 102 kilos to 79 kilos before we flew home. So, there was touch and go for a lot of things. I nearly lost my left leg, right knee down, right hand, left arm, elbow down. So, there's a very good chance I probably should have been a quad amputee, but for some reason, someone's looking out for me, and they wanted me to keep all my limbs, and they might not work as good as they did beforehand, but they work pretty good, mate. I never complain about them now. There's always a silver lining in every playbook, and that, one of the silver linings that I've got is that I'm alive and I'm well, and I've got all my limbs. That a lot of boys and girls didn't come under them.
Absolutely, mate. And I think if it's all right with you, can you outline to us, how did you physically and mentally recover and keep positive that you endured 32 operations how did you manage to stay positive with so many operations going forward in your recovery?
Yeah, I've had 36 now. Which is, it's amazing saying that number, but for me, I don't care about the pain. I don't care that, I don't move as well as I used to. What I care about is I'm still here to have fun with my kids and my wife, and, lead a life with purpose. Operations are hard to go through, especially that many, but at the end of the day, for me, it's more about being able to teach people that it's okay to go through some form of traumatic experience, come out the other side a better person. The whole incident has made me a better person in a lot of ways. I still have a really easygoing mindset, a positive mindset every day when I get up. I value my time in my life. I value my family. I value where we live. I've got a lot of value in my mates, and I don't think I have a right to whinge about anything that's happened to me in the last few years since that happened. 10 years, 11 years this year. I've got some really cool people in my life that teach me every day that it's okay to go through some rough times. Like Paul Warren missing a leg from Afghanistan. Nick Hill was there the day that I got blown up. He was watching it from a monitor in Taring Cout in the SF facility, and having the opportunity to talk to people like that about their recollection and what they saw is special for me, because it makes me understand more and more what I don't remember. I think that's a blessing in disguise for me, as I don't actually remember the pain and everything from that day. I remember the pain from Germany. I remember the pain in my wife's eyes. I remember my family. I remember my mates. Everyone everyone telling me I can't do anything. I remember 3 months after getting blown up, I told the doctor I'm getting up to walk. My mate's coming home in Australia and I will not be in a wheelchair for my mate. And I've been told that I wouldn't walk on my left leg or stand on my left leg for 18 months and 12 months on my right leg. And I said, that's not going to work. So, the doctors had to put a lot of faith in me to understand my body and to know what I could withstand with pain levels. And I tell you what, mate, those 3 steps I took that day are the hardest 3 steps I've ever taken in my life. But I wasn't going to let it defeat me. It's hard to describe that to people that haven't been over there, but I wasn't going to let that, because that's a win for Taliban if I let it beat me. If I let that win, let that whole incident overshadow everything that I want to achieve, then that's a win for the Taliban. And I completely refuse to allow that to happen, for any terrorist to take control of my life. It's not going to happen. That's why I live like I do. That's why I'm so optimistic and so positive. It's because I have the best family around me, and I've got the best bunch of mates I could ever ask for, and I've got the best life I could ever live for. And it's tough, yeah, but everyone has tough days. Everyone has a tough story. It's not just about me and my story, bro. It's like we say at the start of this podcast, you've got a great story, mate. And when you realize that you've got a great story and you can tell it and teach somebody something new, then don't ever turn back. Just keep going forward. Take those 3 steps every morning and keep marching.
Mate, absolutely. It's something that I've taken from you from when I spoke to you in discussions about coming on the podcast, and it's something that I live by now with the 3 steps, and it's something that I implement every day now. And I've really, like, having you on, mate, it's been one of those, like, it's just, you've really helped me and inspired me with the 3 steps. The 3 steps that are the hardest steps that you will take in the day. And if you can take those 3 steps, you can achieve anything in life. And I truly believe that, mate. I truly believe in exactly what you told me. And now I'm implementing it. I'm implementing it every single day. That, right, get up. The first 3 steps are the hardest steps that you'll take. If you take those 3 steps, you can absolutely achieve anything in the day that you set out to achieve.
Mate, that's awesome. And I'm grateful that you've learnt that, mate. And, that's a big win, that someone's picked that up.
That was part 2 of our 3-part chat with former combat medic McQuilty Quirke. Come back next week and hear the final chapter of McQuilty's inspirational story.